What's going on, folks, and welcome back. For those of you that are new, welcome. My name is John. I've got something pretty juicy lined up. We're going to be discussing how you could be using an account to potentially save up to $320,000 on taxes. And the kicker is, you might actually already have this account and not be aware to it. It's known as an HSA, or Health Savings Account. This account is a supercharged retirement savings account, and it's triple tax advantaged. Wait a minute, what does that even mean? What that means is, the money that you put in, not taxed. The money that's then invested in there, not taxed. The money that's pulled out and used for qualified medical expenses, not taxed. That's right, it's not your grandma's HSA where you're going and using that debit card to pay for your $50 copay at the doctor's office. Rather, we need to start thinking about this as an additional retirement account that is supercharged to be able to potentially save up to $320,000 in taxes. I'm gonna go ahead and dive into a step-by-step guide of how exactly it is you can maximize this account. Before we get there, some housekeeping. Who qualifies for an HSA account? If you are in a high deductible health insurance plan, you likely already have an HSA. And if you are not sure whether or not you're in a high deductible insurance plan, check with your employer or your insurance company. I've been at small and large companies alike, and everywhere I've gone, I've always had a high deductible health insurance plan. So likely, you might already have one. The second thing to keep in mind, you need a minimum balance of usually $1,000 to start investing. Personally, I think this topic can get a little bit confusing. There's a lot of jargon that's floating around online. So here's what you need to do. Conceptually, HSA, 401k, IRA, all the same. Meaning, they're retirement savings accounts that you don't want to touch until you retire. Now, the difference between an HSA, a 401k, and an IRA is with an HSA, the primary benefit or focus is to be used for qualified medical expenses. And I know, the next thing you're probably wondering is, but these are medical expenses. And I'm young and I'm healthy, and this is something I should worry about later down the line. Well, I'm here to say this. I am also young and healthy, and I really don't want to think about the day where, I'm potentially just stuck to a hospital bed. Knock on wood, that's not anytime soon. But at some point, we do get older and we do have medical expenses that we incur. So my argument to you is this: why not just do it now when you are healthy and young and when you have such high earning potential? Save now, and so in your retirement that you have just a much larger buffer when it comes to your medical expenses. In addition, this HSA allows you to reduce your tax burden, as well as it shelters that investment portfolio from any taxes, and it grows tax-free. That's incredible. Just consider doing it now. In that way, once you retire, you have additional income streams, not just your 401k, not just your IRA, but now your HSA is a third retirement income stream. With that all being said, let's go ahead and dive into these specific steps of how you should be maximizing your HSA in order to potentially save up to $320,000 in taxes. There are 5 steps, or really 5 sections to keep in mind. The first 2, very straightforward. Number 1, contribute and participate in an HSA plan, meaning take the payroll deductions month over month. These are pre-tax deductions. The second, once you've made the contributions, invest. So once you've hit that $1,000 minimum threshold, start investing it. Now, this is not investment advice. Obviously, speak to a financial advisor, but personally, I like to invest it in a low-cost index fund. You can invest it in whatever vehicle you would choose. But a low-cost index fund, I typically see returns of around 8% year on year. Third, this is the key part, and you really want to pay attention here. When it comes to paying for your medical bills, let's say tomorrow you went to the doctor and you had a $50 copay. Instead of using your HSA debit card to pay for it out of pocket with either cash or another debit card. Don't touch your HSA bucket. Fourth, then what you want to do is ask for them to give you a receipt of the medical procedure, of the bill, and you want to go ahead and file that away. Typically, I actually go ahead and upload it to Google Drive so that it's in the cloud and I know where it is. The reason is, and this is the magic, this is the part that's really exciting. By filing it away, you can still claim for reimbursement. But what you want to do is you want to protect your HSA balance, right? It's a precious nest egg that you want to grow and let time and compounding interest work their magic over the next 20, 30, 40 years. And so by keeping the receipt, you can go ahead and still file for that claim in 20, 30, 40 years. Does that make sense? What I'm saying is that $50, you're still going to get it back, but you're going to get it back in 30 or 40 years. At the same time, that $50 has been putting in work for you month over month, growing, compounding, tax free. So the $50 in 2021 is worth buckets more in 2041. But in 2041, you can take that medical bill that you had today and make a claim and receive your $50 back. And that is like the key part of all of this. There's no time limit on when you have to file for reimbursement. So you let that sucker grow for 30 years, you've got buckets of money and you can still get your $50 back. Because if you took that $50 out today, well, it's never gonna have a chance to grow, right? It's gone. There's not gonna be any compounding interest on top of that. And you see why now it's so much more advantageous to go ahead and try to protect your HSA balance today so that in the future, you've got buckets. And the fifth point, and this one is once you reach the age of 65, you can go ahead and start using your HSA like a regular IRA, meaning you can go ahead and file for non-medical expenses. And when you take those distributions, they're just gonna be subject to regular income tax. But qualified medical expenses are still not going to be subject to any income tax. One quick note, as I was making this video, my girlfriend was actually trying to set up her HSA account in order to invest. One thing she realized was, earlier this year when she went to the doctors, they didn't give her a bill when she checked out. They just sent her on her way. And they ended up billing the insurance directly, and the insurance actually was linked to her HSA, and the funds were transferred automatically. That's an amazing feature, and I think it's great for 90% of people. But if you really want to take advantage of an HSA account, you want to be able to protect that fund, right? So you want to go, once you check out, ask them for a bill and pay on the spot if you're able to. Because you want to protect your HSA fund to allow it to grow over 20, 30 years to a much higher level than if you were to just withdraw the money and use it today for your $50 copay. The 5 steps. Make sure you're making contributions today and try to contribute as much as you can or as close to the maximum as possible. The second, invest those contributions. The third, pay for medical expenses out of pocket when possible. Fourth, hang on to your receipts and make sure that you're filing for a claim later down the line. And the fifth, when you turn 65, the HSA can then be used more along the lines of a traditional IRA, and you'll only be subject to normal income tax. Let's go ahead and dive into an example of what investing with an HSA account looks like, both from just time and compounding interest, as well as what are some of the tax advantages to using such an account. So here I'm gonna walk you through an example using a calculator I found from Benefit Wallet. Assumptions I'm gonna make are that you're filing as single, and that you're young and healthy, therefore you've got a long time horizon before you retire, 35 years. And because you're watching my video, I'm gonna assume that you don't currently have an HSA balance. I'm also assuming that you're very eager to start saving and you're maxing out your payroll contributions at $295 a month. This equates to about $3,550 a year, which was the 2020 HSA contribution limit. Again, being young and healthy, I'm assuming there's $0 out of pocket for monthly healthcare expenses. An average rate of return about 8%. You can put in whatever number that you would prefer in here. I think 8% is a pretty solid one when you look at the S&P 500 historically. And then a marginal income tax bracket of 24%. Plugging all that in, you can hit View Report, and you see at the end of 35 years, you have over $600,000 in your HSA. Now, had you been taxed, you would have paid about $322,000 in tax, which would have only netted you $315,000 in your total HSA balance. Now, that's assuming if the amount that you contributed had been taxed at your marginal tax rate of 24%. Of course, because the HSA account is triple tax advantaged, you are not taxed on the money that you put in. The money grew tax-free, and when you withdraw it to be used for qualified medical expenses, you will have to pay no taxes. So meaning this is all yours to use. That is the power of the HSA. But at the end of the day, it's your decision to make whether or not you want to use an account like this. Me personally, absolutely no question about it. The minute I finally realized what it means to be triple tax advantaged, you bet I was all in. And if you have any questions on how to invest, how to open an account, anything like that, hit me up in the DMs or drop a comment in the section below. I'm happy to go through specifics because this is just such a powerful tool that I think a lot of people are sleeping on. Thank you for tuning in. My name is John. Until next time, peace.